Good morning, everyone, whoever watching this video. This recording is for my poetry course with Dr. Rifat Al-Arair. I'm going to discuss John Keats, When I Have Fears, and I'm going to be selective. I'm going to analyze the structure of this poem or sonnet. I'm going to read it quickly. This is the sonnet. When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books in correctory hold like rich garners the full ripened grain. When I behold upon the night-starred face huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, and think that I may never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance, and when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more, never have relish in the fairy power of unreflecting love. Then on the shore of the wide world I stand alone, and think till love and fame to nothingness do sink. Uh, in analyzing the structure, there are three things that have to be put in concern. First, the form of the sonnet. As I said, it is a sonnet that has the alternating Shakespearean AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, GG rhyme scheme. So it has three quatrains. Each quatrain discusses a situation or a problem that the poet has. And at the end, we have the couplet, GG, that obviously offers a closure or a solution for all these three problems. So by imitating this alternating rhyme scheme and this sonnet, Keats is showing his skillfulness and ability to compose poetry like great canonical figures. But although he is doing that, like he is trying to be a great canonical figure by imitating Shakespeare, he is detaching himself to not fully imitate Shakespeare by the couplet. How is that? The couplet obviously starts from the middle of the 12th line rather than from the beginning of the 13th line. The second thing is the use of when. The poet uses when at the beginning of the three quatrains. As I said, each quatrain discusses a problem that the poet has, a daily, a life problem that the poet has. So each quatrain starts with when, creating three dependent, uncompleted clauses, okay? As if he's saying, my life is dependent, it is not completed. So how can he complete it? These half-done clauses are only completed in the couplet. And the couplet, uh, strangely talks about the death of the poet. So as if he's saying, my life is only can be completed when I die, because the couplet is the independent clause. But however, the three quatrains, they start with when, forming three dependent clauses. The use of when stresses the main theme of the poem, which is the destructiveness of time. And also using when, the poet is somehow certain about his close death, because when is when indicates certainty. The third thing about the couplet, the third thing is about the couplet. The couplet is 2 lines and a half rather than only 2 lines. We said this before, that it attaches the poet from Shakespeare. One thing that I said about the couplet is that it discusses and talks about death. So the meaning of the couplet is about death. However, and also the poet reinforces this meaning in the couplet. Keats indicates the powerfulness of death and time by three things in the structure. This is really amazing. The first thing is that he is spilling the couplet into the middle of the 12th line. And of course, the 12th line and the other three quatrains that end at the 12th line, they talk about life, as if he's saying, I don't know when death is going to come to me, as if death is something unstoppable, that it can be spilled in my life and like destroy it at any time he wants. The second thing is the shifting in the regular meter. The whole poem is written in the pentameter, the iambic pentameter. But however, in the couplet, in the 13th line, he shifts this regular meter to show and state that he failed in controlling the rigid, strict structure. As the couplet, I said and repeated it before, talks about death. The last thing, unstressing the I. He unstresses the I in the couplet, the 13th line, to enforce his weakness against death. Although through the whole poem, the other I's were stressed, but in the couplet, he unstressed it to show that he is vulnerable against death and time. Thank you all for paying attention. This is the end of my presentation.